want to do it right now, but we do have some questions.
Well, because I think I mentioned it in the hallway to one of them. They said, "Well, we'll have someone come around and answer those questions," and then they came to both of us and brought it in. And I don't know who.
I think they scheduled it, for
if
the
it
next
was Leland
day
or whatever said anything, and that's when you were mad about it. And that's when I was like, well, let's just listen to see what they have to say. I'm the person that brought it up in the hallway that you don't know about.
He's not going to say it's all my fault.
Don't run them over. It's like,
yes,
he's a jerk. Got to do what I asked.
Leland's
answering my question.
Leland's like pushing, like, you need to make a decision, and I'm like, give him some time to heal. Everyone's telling me give it time to heal.
I remember.
Keep pushing it. He's dying, and now you're talking about organ donation. He's gonna heal. Get out of my case.
All really quick stuff. So we can go ahead and
Great.
And if you guys want to just start by introducing yourself and kind of how you came to be speaking to us. Would you be speaking to me or the camera at this point?
To you.
To me. Okay, perfect.
My name is Drew Vanderkleed, and our son Logan passed away, and we offered everything we could possibly offer, pretty much, to be donated. And so we're here to talk to you and other people about donation and how great it is.
And I'm Lisa Vanderkleed, and we're always offering to help the Indiana Donor Network any way we can. And since the organ donation process, we just want more people to experience everything we've gone through and know what a blessing it is. And so anything we can do to help share the information that we already have and help others make an informed decision as well, that's what we want to do, is be able to help.
Could you guys just tell me a little bit about Logan?
He was our son. Kind of looked at him as, I don't know, like, I don't know how to describe it. Father looks at their son, or we loved him. He was a joy, looking forward to everything all parents look forward to growing up, all the different firsts. And man, he loved jumping, tractors, loved family and people. It was great to see his heart and his love and care for others. We were just getting to know his personality. So it was just an exciting time with him.
He didn't talk a ton, I guess partly being a boy and being two, but he was very energetic and lively and loved to dance and basically was a center of attention in any room. And he loved his sister, Kendra, and just all over her. He loved to cuddle. He loved sandwich hugs. We would always do family sandwich hugs and squeeze him in the middle and things like that. And just loved all the typical boy things. But he always wanted to be with Daddy or Grandpa or his uncle or anyone on the farm, combines, tractors, lawnmowers, anything that moves. And if you're driving along the road and there was one miles away in the field, he would spot it out and call it out. And then as we drove by anything that had machinery, he would name them all off in the order as we passed them. So it was always entertaining in the car because I'm like, he knows so much more about machinery and things than I ever could have. But so when he was talking, it was always about machinery and farm vehicles and bulldozers and lawnmowers and skid steers and things. Yeah.
What was your family's experience as far as the accident and what happened, and kind of just the process of how you guys, kind of what we just talked about with donation even being brought up to you guys? Or are you bringing up donation?
Yeah, our son had an accident on the farm where he rolled his neck up into a window, and I didn't get there in time, but we ended up at Riley, and when the tests were happening and things weren't looking good, and from what I've seen on the farm at the scene of the accident, and then what we were hearing, it was just really hard to kind of process it all. But on the other hand, I kind of wanted to prepare myself kind of for the worst case scenario, and I think that might be a farmer thing, that always expecting the worst, hoping for the best. And I remember mentioning to one of the doctors, like, if things go bad here for us, is there, can he donate? Is he too young? Is it at all possible he could donate? Because as painful and as hard as it was if we could give the opportunity that somebody else doesn't sit here and have their child die because they didn't have an organ or tissue or something, that, I don't want anybody to experience what I have.
For me, it was different. I was teaching at school. It was only like the 6th day of school, and I had just switched careers, so everything was chaos. I was trying to get insurance paperwork to the front of the building where reception's not very good. Got up to the front, and my father-in-law was calling me, which never happens during a work day. And so it was 3-something, and my phone kept ringing, and I was answering, and I could hear him, but he couldn't hear me. So he kept saying, "Lisa, Lisa," and just yelling. And then I was like, I just knew instantly something was not right. So I was screaming in the office, "I need the telephone. We need to call. We need to call. Something's wrong. Something's wrong." And one other time when we were right before our wedding, he had had an injury and he had called me. So I thought, oh, great, he's done something to his leg again like last time. I wasn't even thinking of Connor or Kendra, and actually both of them were with him on the farm that day because she was in 3-day kindergarten that week, or at that time. And so when I called and they finally answered, they said, "It's not good. You need to get to the shop now, like get to the farm right now." Them saying that, and they're saying it's not good. I'm saying, is he even alive right now then if you're having me go to the shop and not the hospital? Because, yeah. So anyway, I'm screaming, running down the hall, running to get my purse and things so I can get to the car. And the office staff is like, "We'll take you. You're not driving." I said, "Only if you drive super fast." So they agreed to. They met me. So one woman met me and she took me over. And on the way, she kept saying, "Are you sure we're going to the shop and not the hospital?" And I said, I know. It's weird. I don't know. Maybe they just haven't told me he's passed away. I don't know. I don't know. We're going to the shop. So all of a sudden, one of them called me and said, "We're going to the hospital now. Meet us there." So we turned around and then we went to the hospital, and I actually beat the ambulance and them there, which even once again made me more nervous as to how I beat them there. So once again, I was thinking the worst again. And then they told me, "You're not going to get to see him because they're going to have to fly him out to Riley, and I won't get a chance to see him before they need to get him there ASAP." So they put us in a private room because I was a little over-drastic, or just normal mom upset about her child. They put us into a private room, and then somebody came in and said, "You get to come back and see him now." And then I immediately once again was like, "Oh, great, so he's not alive." And so I kept asking them. They said, "No, he is, come back." So go around the corner, and there's like 20,000 people, literally 20 to 30 people are standing there, and go over, and I get to see him and whatever for just a short bit. And then they said, "We need to fly him away." So got to do that. Then we go down the Riley, and actually a detective an officer was nice enough to drive us to Riley. So we got down there, and then that's when they gave us all the scenarios of his brain's going to continue to swell through the night, things like that, and things might get worse quick. So, but then I had all these other people telling me how with injuries and brain injuries and things like that, and lack of oxygen or whatever, that it takes about 3 days for the full effects, and then you can see healing maybe after that. And especially with a kid, they're more resilient, and so I had all of these high hopes from people. So when the hospital kept speaking of what to do on day 2, of whether we are going to pull his oxygen tube and do a trach if he can't breathe on his own, or whether we're going to choose to end life that way, then that was really hard, because I was saying, everyone's telling me wait 3 days, and here we are, 2nd day in, I believe it was happening. So I was upset, obviously, and after seeing the MRI, I understood why they were saying these things. But I don't know, with us being such strong believers and our family being such strong believers, I thought, we're here to witness to the Lord. So I just kept thinking, we're going to have a miracle, and everyone is going to see this miracle, and this is what's going to happen. So in my mind, nothing bad was going to be happening. And as time went, my friend asked if she could set up a Facebook page to let people update, because she knew I couldn't keep everyone in the loop, and everyone's out of town and all these other things. So she did, and when more people were following, and it starts getting up into the tens of thousands of people following us, I was sure that he was going to recover from this, and it was going to be a miracle story. So now looking back, we do see there was a miracle story. It just wasn't the way we thought it was going to be. So However, it happened where he asked or someone had mentioned to us that the donation process, I thought that he probably asked when I wasn't around, but the way I believe I heard about it was them just saying if his organs are going to continue to shut down, or if it's looking the way it looks, or more damage is happening in the brain, then what do you want to do? Would you consider organ donation? Which we both have our license. We're both organ donors. That's always been our case. We've always supported that. I've said that my entire life. But in the moment, I'm saying, you're right now saying my son's not going to live, and I think he's going to live. So I took offense to it and was like, whoa, let's just give him some time to heal first. Why are we talking about this? And then paused and stepped back and said, okay, well, obviously, with I understand that you guys would have to know ahead of time, what we need to do, because you don't want to lose that chance either at the organ donation process. So in hindsight, I stepped back and then said, okay, well, I know if something comes to that drastic measure, we want to do this. And he also had said, I think we just ask the questions, hear it out, and make a decision. We don't have to say, yeah, right now, and it means if he gets better, this isn't going to happen anyway. So why not just talk it out as an option, which obviously, like I said, if it came to that, we both knew we wanted to do that. So when they offered to bring them in to talk to us, we were definitely down for doing that. It was also really nice, too, because they allowed us to have anyone in there we wanted to have in there. So we had, was it both of your parents, I believe, were in there during the discussion, or at least one of them was in there during.
Both our parents.
I think both, of them were in there. So we could share, anyone that had a question, they were willing to answer all the questions we had, which was really nice. So.
When you were ready to kind of make that decision as far as say yes or no to donation, how did you guys even come to that decision?
Repeat that question.
You're fine. So you had said, we'll listen to the answer, or we'll listen to the questions, we'll get the information. We weren't ready to make a decision. When you were ready to say yes or no to donation, did you guys have more discussions, more conversations? Kind of how did you get to that yes?
I think we both already knew if it came to that, we were going to do it. I think, what were the questions that we mainly had? Because we knew we were going to do it. It was just the process of matching. It was more like we wanted to know, when he donates, how are they matching? Are all of his organs going to be able to be donated? If we pull the tube and we're in there in the operating room, can we be in there with him? Can we hold him if we wanted to hold him?
We had more, how does the process work?
Right.
And what's, what should we expect to happen, and what's allowed to happen? Where's Logan going to be? Where are we going to be? I think we also had more of a, do we get to communicate, or how does communication work with the recipient? Because, we wanted, or I was trying to figure out, how do I express to the recipient that we didn't give this gift with any strings attached? I wanted them to know that I want your child, or if you're an adult, I want you to just accept the gift and live life. And you're not living for Logan, you're not living for me. You're living because you got this gift of an organ or tissue, and enjoy it. No strings attached, no burdens, you don't have to do anything, just enjoy life. And that was one of the things I wanted to get across to him, and wonder if I'd even be able to, because we've never been in that situation before. I always thought I was going to be a donor because I would be dead and I wouldn't have to. That was never on my mind, because I would be the one donating. So.
Well, and then I just remember, when I talked to friends about organ donation growing up, and they were always, some people would say, ooh, I wouldn't put that on my card. And I'm like, why wouldn't you put that on your card? Well, because then if you're in a bad accident, they're just going to want to donate your organs. And then I said, well, that doesn't make any sense though, because they're saving a life or they're saving a life. So then they're losing a life to save a life. So, and then someone goes, oh yeah, that makes a little bit more sense. But I mean, those things kind of go through your head. So I'm saying like, okay, I'm signing this up. We're still going to give him a chance to live if he lives, right? Which was the process, and the questions and answers totally explain that as to if he makes it through this, then great, that's what we want. And it's okay. And the person waiting in the operating room for that organ will just be told that the good news, and they might be sad they didn't get an organ, but they will also be excited knowing that your child lived. So it was just more affirmation, I guess, again, that everyone wants him to survive, but if all else fails, then we're going to do the very next best possible thing we can for our family, because we knew, I think we just knew that to lose someone and just lose someone, but then to lose someone and then have some type of blessing, if there could be a blessing of this, that could be the blessing. And in his case, not just save one, but to save 2 children is great. So yeah, I mean, at the time we were told he was going to be able to donate a kidney to a woman that was 43, I believe, in Texas. So that's we had expected that at the time. And then so just more proof that the donor network does the right thing is he lasted longer than, some expected that he would after pulling the tube out. So, or pulling the oxygen, however you want to say it. So when that happened, that woman had to be told that this no longer was a viable organ for her, and so she did not receive what she was expecting to receive, which was hard on us, because we thought if he's not going to live, we wanted her to be able to be saved. So that was hard for us too. However, once again, we just kind of think God works in mysterious ways and things like that, because we had talked the night before. And we both just said he has all these tubes connected to him and these wires, and we just wanted to hold him with no wires. And unfortunately for that woman that didn't get the kidney, we got to hold him with no wires. So we kind of felt bad. Like, we weren't saying that God for her not to get her kidney, but, it was really nice for us to be able to hold him when he passed away. So, yeah.
You had lots of questions about, how he would look in the casket and stuff. I remember that. Like,
yeah.
If they take organs or if we donate, how does that go?
I was really nervous. I am unfortunately one of the people that I can remember everyone in the casket that I've ever seen. And so knowing that, I said, well, I want him to look like him, because I want to remember him as him. So my concern was looking at him, is he going to look the same? To which they said, yeah, pretty much he would look, the same. And he had, it was a little bit more, I don't know, padded or whatnot. So his body, he looked the same. His body was a little bit,
He looked like him.
But he looked like Logan. But they did offer somewhere in there, they said, hey, we were wrong, or hey, we found out that we can donate his corneas. And then that was when I was a little too nervous that he would look different, because I didn't understand the process of what his eyes would look like if they were, like what exactly they were doing and how his eyes would look different. So in the moment in that, I looked over at him. He wasn't like 100% yes, let's do it. And he could tell I was like, I want to do it, but I don't want to do it. I don't know if I can do that. So we said, we don't know right now, but we're going to say no to that right now and just hold off. If somebody would have been able to show me photos of somebody sleeping and somebody that had this done, and I saw that it was no different, no bruising, no whatever, no stretching, I would have totally done it. And I'm now, in hindsight, I'm very disappointed that we didn't, regardless of how he would have looked in the casket, because I hear all these people that get to say that they met the person that received sight. And I think, oh my goodness, if I didn't have my eyesight, how I would be begging for somebody to do this. And the fact that we took that away from somebody, in my mind, we took that away from somebody that could have been a match or it could have worked for. And if I could go back and change it, I would now. And so, yeah, so I would tell anybody who cares, he's going to go with the Lord, and his body's here, and he's going up with the Lord, and we'll see him whole again in heaven one day regardless. And we should have just given everything we can to save everyone in any way that we could save and help somebody. So.
That was great. You just answered a bunch of my questions. That was so good. I do want to kind of go back. You had talked about how you guys had a lot of questions about the process. How did you feel throughout, I can't remember if it was a day or two from when you signed paperwork to when you went to surgery. How did you feel your interactions with the team were? The organ coordinators who were on site, or I know you guys we had talked about Liz and Pete. Tell me a little bit about those interactions with our staff after you said yes before surgery.
My memory's not the best on that.
I was going to say, I don't think he remembers.
I guess I would say, I didn't really understand. Well, I don't know. I'm cheap. So they offered like stuff, like memory stuff to do this and do that. And I'm just like, this has to be costing somebody money. I don't like getting free things all the time because there's nothing in life that's free. But it was all awesome stuff. I mean, the stuff they offered and when we're doing it, it's great memories, the memory boxes and everything. It's well worth it. I was just impressed with not only the impact it has after the fact, but the fact that it was being offered and the way they talked, like, hey, we can do this, and we can get this, we can do this. And it was just stuff to help cherish his memory and to kind of keep that connection more, I guess, physical than just in memory and stuff. And it was all great. It was just because I was thinking about this has got to be costing somebody something somewhere, and that was only my only hang up on it, which is weird to be thinking that, but that it was good. I mean, I can't speak highly enough of the care they have for our suffering in that time.
It was Liz and Nate, right?
Liz and Pete.
Pete. Liz and Pete. Okay, yeah. So when the way I can best recall it, when Liz and Pete first came in to talk to us, they immediately just tried to establish rapport and relationship and look at photos of who Logan is and ask questions about what he was like. And so they didn't come in and just shoot to business. You know, they came in and enjoyed their time with us and then asked what things would be important to us, talked about the fingerprints and footprints and everything. And actually it meant a lot because here I am with his fingerprint right here and right here. So I was able to have that, and I would never have thought to do that, and nor do I think I would have had anything better than a little paint thing at daycare that wouldn't have shown anything. So that was like huge to me, just that part. We literally had 30 family members at the hospital pretty well every day or more, and friends and things. And they were all in there quite often with us in the room, and they went around to everyone. If she's okay with it, and they would look over at me, if she's okay with it, would you guys like a lock of his hair? And they explained how they could cut it from the back so you're not going to see it, in the casket or whatever, or anything like that. It's not going to. So we went around and did locks of hair, and then they talked about the memory boxes. And one of the most meaningful things to me, though, was they did the handprints and the footprints. Now, I don't know if that was actually the donor network or if that was the hospital. I think it was the donor network that did that, and turned those into molds. And we have them actually in Connor's room, which is Logan's old room, and that's kind of like something we've kept of his in there with Connor. Now, when he gets older, if he doesn't want them in there, we'll put them somewhere else. But for now, that's where they are. And it's actually really cute because we have his hands like this in the one mold. And the other day I had some little eye drops for Connor because he got shampoo in his eyes in the shower. And And he goes, Mommy, Logan can hold it. And I'm like, oh, and he just like puts it in his little hand. But it's just sweet to look back at his little hand and foot. We have those memories now. And then this wasn't the donor network, but this was somebody at the hospital or a friend. Somebody found me on Facebook and said, I'd like to do this for you. But they came in and offered to record his heartbeat and time it to music. And I could pick whatever song we wanted. So they came in and did that. So that might be something that the donor network should add to their list of things to do, because it was really nice. But maybe it was the donor network, maybe because, we ended up getting the heartbeat bears. So I don't know, maybe the donor network did the heartbeat recording, and then maybe we shared it with somebody who put music to it. So maybe it was a combination of the two, to be honest. I should have written things down, but not my focus, I guess, at the time. But one of the other most important things that we liked, or that I really liked, and I know our family really liked, was the moment of silence. Just because we all sat together as a family. So like I said, the 30 of us in the room, and we all talked about, when you think of him, what do you think of? And so we got to jot down, and it was just interesting seeing different people's views of him and not just ours. So we tracked all of that. And then it was neat that the donor network came in before we went in for surgery, and we had the moment of silence, and they read that, and we just prayed and did everything with that. So it was just really cool that that was a good transition into everything, I think, too. And we have it framed, and it's just nice to have. So.
Is there anything that sticks out to you that made the process more complicated?
Yes. For me, so yes, we knew his organs were starting to shut down. I demanded a second MRI because I thought my miracle was going to happen, not the other miracles were going to happen. So I said, I need to see that his brain doesn't look improved, or, the things don't look better. So after they did that, and then we saw it looked worse, then that was my affirmation. Okay, I'm ready to move on to the next process. I have proof. I've talked to God about this. This is my reassurance that this is what we're doing. And so when they came in, and I think they had to not feed him prior to the surgery or something, that was hard on me. Because then in my mind I was saying, okay, I know he's not going to survive, but at the same time, what if he is going to survive? Is this hurting his chances at survival? So that was my only fear, and I still kind of look back and say, well, he lasted longer than what they thought they would after he pulled the tube. So if we would have fed him, would he have been okay? Which in hindsight, I can still look back and say his organs were shutting down. He no longer was responding to light in his eyes. He had this, he had that. I can go through the list, but there's that tiny, tiny bit of you that goes, they starved him, type thing. And that was my only part that I didn't like about it. And extra blood work or whatever needed to be done, but he already had everything hooked up to him anyway. So that would be the only downside of it.
No.
That's okay. You had talked about Logan's recipients. If you want to tell us a little bit about the lasting impact that your son made.
Well, his heart valve went to a little girl in Missouri, right? Yeah. And it's working out the way I hoped it would. She was in really, really bad place and didn't look like she was going to make it. And then she got this heart valve, and is it going to solve her problems for life? No, but it's given her 5 years to 10 years. I don't know, till she's going to outgrow it, and then she's going to need something else. And I hope she gets it. But we got to meet him, and it's very, very good to see that. It doesn't erase the bad that's happening, but it's nice to have another good thing in your life.
Yeah, we still stay in touch. They have come down and stayed with us twice. Once they stayed at a hotel. The first time when we met, we didn't know them at all. The next time they stayed all night with us. And then over Memorial Day weekend, one of the years we went over, probably pre-COVID year, and we had actually, it might have been during COVID year actually, now that I say that, and we went and stayed with them at their mom's house, or her mom's house, and just because they go there for the weekend celebration on a lake, and we just went and joined them. They invited us to come along, so that was fun. And the kids actually, they talk to my daughter on the iPad all the time, and so we're still in communication. I know she just built a brand new home, and they moved in there not too long ago. So we just, through all the process, dates were very similar. Different things going on in August that we had going on in August, and she's a teacher and I'm a teacher, and just a lot of thoughts that we had when her child was sick or dying, or was sick in the hospital or dying, and then thoughts that we had or I had while things were going on in the hospital. And it was just it was nice just to have somebody too that also we could share and talk things through as well. So yeah, we really enjoyed that. It's definitely easier seeing and meeting the recipient, just knowing that, well, one, knowing that they're still okay, and we expect something could go wrong, but knowing that right now everything's really good with everything. And then we found out also that a little boy in California around the age of 1 received his other heart valve. So that was really another, I was having the best day at school. I can't even remember. It might have even been in the month of August that I found this out. I'd have to look back at my notes, but whatever it was, I was in need of something positive to come up, and I got the phone call while I was at school. I was on recess duty, and I like this number. I don't know why I answered the phone. I would not usually just answer it during the day, and I answered the phone and found out that they just wanted to share the good news. So now I have written them, and whether or not they've gotten the letter or know about us, or I don't know what the case is. We haven't had a chance to find out who exactly it is or meet them, and that's hard. I still have this prayer that will go through, and I've thought of my next break, if it ever comes, that I will rewrite to the family again and try again to reach out to them in some way, or hoping that through our Love for Logan page somebody will see something or ask something and somehow it'll get back, because we reconnected with the Wilsons prior to you guys connecting us, because people followed my page and people followed her page, and our page was Love for Logan and her page was Love for Lillian, another coincidental thing. And people were following that, and I had posted something about getting a letter and everything, and then they had heard her saying something, and they ended up getting in touch. I think you guys are the families that are with each other, and then in talking, we found out we actually were. So it was more special to me that way too. We got to find out in a totally different way, and then when you all tried to call us, we were like, we already know who we already found each other. But so I was just hoping maybe we'll find this other person some other way, if indeed the surgeon didn't give the notification of the family or whatever it was, or maybe their response, they're just not ready yet. We'll see. So.
I think it also helps Kendra to be able to see a tangible, good thing. I mean, at a young age, it's hard to understand everything, but I think it's good for her to have this little girl she went from, having a little brother to then she kind of give that attention to her. Not near as much, but just a little bit of an outlet, and see that, yeah, there's this bad thing, but there is good we can concentrate on. We don't always have to see the bad. So I think it was nice that we got to meet him, and she got to, have another way of seeing Logan through her a little bit. So it was good. And,
had we not done organ donation, besides the whole fact of just where would this other child be, or where would this other child be, both of the children, where would they be right now, besides thinking of that, also just reflecting on our life since then. We were, through this process, able to share to others in the area, because when we met with the Wilsons, that was a huge news reporting. So we got to share organ donation process and love and a healing out of a tragedy. And so that was healing for us. I mean, just in general healing for us, but hopefully brought light to others in some way that they can have this. My cousin lost her child at the age of 4, and I don't know if because she had cancer or what it was that, or if she just wasn't told about organ donation. So I don't know if she was able to donate or not, or if this just didn't happen, or if it wasn't available, or it was, I don't know. But regardless, they were looking at us and saying, at least you get to see light out of it. We don't. And so they even in hindsight recognize, and they never said no. They just either it wasn't available, or they didn't know. I don't know which. But all they've conveyed to us is at least you guys get to have this light and see this child that's alive because of this, and hear about this other child who's alive because of what you guys have chosen. So that's healing for us. Secondly, with us doing that, we somehow were selected to go to the Rose Bowl parade. We normally wouldn't just go on vacation to California or go out to California. We would never go to this amazing parade in general. And that was, Kendra got to go and meet different people, all hear about all the types of loss there and all the donation, and see people that received organ donation or are walking, living recipients. And it was just impactful for both of us, for her. And it was very emotional, but it was a very positive experience that had we not done organ donation, we would not have been there doing that. Also, now that we've been asked to serve with the Indiana Family Donor Council, personally in our life, I would say he's not an open person about his feelings with me about this. Now, whether or not he is with his father, who was there when the tragedy happened, I don't know. Probably more so with his dad. I know his dad is very vocal about his feelings. So we don't communicate a ton about feelings. I try to tell him things and things I post on Facebook and share those things, but he doesn't just freely come to me and say anything that's going on. But if we go to, if we're on the Donor Family Council and we talk about things, then it comes up and I get to hear it. So that's another blessing with us during the donation process, is I feel like we are bonding in another way, and I'm getting to see his feelings in another way, and thoughts that he wouldn't normally just come out and say, like, that was meaningful to me to see this, or that was meaningful to me to hear that, or to go to this event, or whatever it is. Also, with Logan donating and being a donor, our daughter gets to go to Donor Hero Camp for free. And so, if money's tight, we still get to send her to a camp that she gets to have fun with. And for her, she has conveyed to us and in front of other people, she's voiced her opinion about what that means to get to go to the camp and to get to see kids that are like her and things like that. And so that's another benefit to the whole process, that we get to see her get some healing, because she wouldn't just freely come to us and say she needed help, or she wouldn't take help, or she wouldn't talk to anybody, or she would only talk to me about certain things. But I know there's other things that she needs to get off her chest, that she feels safer with some other people that don't quite know her like a mom or a dad or whatever. So we get to see that benefit of that side of things too.
Is there anything that you would tell a family who is really struggling, who didn't have that clarity of, yes, we want to do it, we just want to know about the process? Maybe who's really struggling with the idea of donation, whether it's some of you hit on a lot of very common misconceptions, whether they'll look different in the casket or just the timing of things. Just a family who doesn't know what to do. What is something that you would want them to know?
From personal experience, having the opportunity to donate and not doing it is a bigger regret, like times 10, than donating. I don't know how. That's a good question.
Thanks, it's on my paper.
Yeah. That's it. How do you describe? I don't know how to. I guess the joy, however great the joy is in donating, that when you reflect back on it years down the road, the disappointment of not donating is equally as great. With Logan, yeah, I was willing to donate everything, but I'm sitting next to my wife and she's like, just not his eyes. I can't handle it. I'm just like, well, I didn't say, suck it up, Buttercup, donate everything. But the pain of us not coming to the conclusion of donating his, corneas, is equally as great as the joy of donating.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say to anybody, if you're not sure, donate.
Yeah. I think that the day the operation was going to happen, if it was going to happen, so the day before we go into the day we were going into the operating room, I looked over at him and I said, I feel bad. Let's donate his corneas. I feel selfish. That's how I felt when I thought back to it. And he looked at me, and I think just because he knew I was saying it, but I wasn't 100% quite ready yet. And so he looked at me and says, it's okay, Lisa, you're donating. So you're donating. We are donating. We are helping. It's okay. It's okay. But like I said, now I wish he would have said, yeah, let's do it, because there's no reason not to. And so I'm mad at you. No. So I would just say, do everything you can, because that's somebody whose life is going to be better. They're going to get more time with family, more time with friends. They're going to have a better quality of life, whatever it is. If you have that chance, how could you say no to somebody? Just imagine if that were your grandma. Imagine if that were your mom. Imagine if that were your child sitting there waiting for this. If you were on the other end, you would not understand how somebody losing a child who they're not going to have, or who's losing a mother, or losing anyone they're not going to have in their life anymore, could say, I will not help you even though I'm losing this child or this mom or this aunt. No matter what, I'm not going to help you. It just doesn't make sense. So for me, wish I would have gone. If I could go back, I would do everything. I would have done his corneas as well. But we're glad we did what we were comfortable with in the moment, and we did, and 2 lives are saved because of that. And in hindsight, we could have probably helped more people, but we did what we could.
Just donate it. There you go.
Just donate it instead of just do it.
That's right.
Okay, I like
just
it.
Donate it.
You're hired.
Or if you want to keep it the same
If you
amount of
don't-
syllables, just donate.
If you don't know what to do, just donate. There you go.
Do you have any other questions?
Yeah, you guys have done a beautiful job. Thank you so much for sharing your story. So one of the things that we always like to talk about, and you've touched on this throughout the conversation, but maybe go a little more deep, is how did the choice that you made for your sweet Logan to donate affect your process of grieving and the huge loss that you guys had?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it takes away from the grieving process. For me, I guess it's a great distraction from the grieving process, because having something good come out of something bad, my experience says, doesn't make the bad good. It's still bad. It's still horrible. It's just having another thing to look to that's good is always good. So the bad doesn't take away from the good things in your life, and the good doesn't take away from the bad things in your life. It's just who can't use more good things in their life. And so that's where I try to focus on the good, and it's another great thing to focus on, and it's good. But the pain's still there, and that's okay. When I find out what takes away that, I'll let you know. But I haven't found anything yet. So
When I know of other people who have lost children, because obviously people bring it to my attention when somebody else loses a child and say, hey, maybe you can help them. If they've not chosen to donate, I don't know that this is statistically proven or anything, but you just notice they have a much more difficult time moving on, I'd say, or just knowing that life is worth living still, or whatever it is. And so I think for me, it is that help of something good came from something bad. Now, some people will say, well, did this bad have to happen for that good? No, I'm not saying that. And no, we wouldn't want I've had counseling sessions over this, and no, our child did not have to, Jesus pays for sins, and no child or no whatever pays for somebody else's sins or any type of blessings, all of those. That's not how it works, but it's just, I don't know. I don't know what I was trying to say. It's just.
You just say it's a good thing that comes from something bad. It is, and it's a good thing, and it's hard to express the goodness of it. It seems like in the world they want the goodness to erase the bad, and that pays for it.
Right.
I'm okay if people want to say that, and I don't correct them very often. I was just like, yes, but not in my book. Personally, you nail me down, I'm like, nah, it doesn't take away from the bad. But what it does do is it adds to the good, and that's what I want to try to get across. It adds to the good, and unfortunately people want to think, well, if you're adding to the good, then therefore you're taking away from the bad. No, I still have 1,000 pounds of bad hanging on. That's just life. I will bear that cross. Well, Jesus will bear it. I got to learn how to give it to him. But seeing the good things in life doesn't take away the bad. That has to happen another way. But I'm all for all the good, though.
Well, I'm a teacher, and so coming back to school, at the time I taught 4th grade, and I know the Bible, the 6 days that I had with the kids, what lessons we got into was about Philippians, and it was about finding joy in the sorrow, and I feel like that once again was God working in, as I was teaching them, I kept thinking, oh no, something bad. In my mind, I was going, something bad's happening because all of this, you're teaching me or you're teaching the kids, and for some reason I felt it was me. My mom she was having a lot of health issues, and she had gone in for some test or some scan, and I thought for sure I was going to get this phone call that she had cancer. So I just thought, as I'm reading all this, oh dear, okay, yeah, something bad's coming, and you're telling me I'm going to have to find joy in this, So when I got that phone call, like I said, all the pieces were just falling into place in my mind of, oh great, this is happening. This is why I'm moved to a Christian school. This is why I changed jobs. This is why I'm starting in Philippians. I don't want to go through this, Lord. No, I don't want to be your witness. I don't want to deal with this. But when I came back to that 4th grade, first of all, they had that biblical bound understanding of things, but then when they saw me, and I know a lot of them were like, oh my goodness, they would go to their parents like, how is she here? How is she standing? How is she walking? And when I could come back and say, we donated and he's going to save people's lives, they just looked at us in awe. And then when we got those phone calls, and I shared everything, and I even put the picture up of, this is the little girl that we saved, and they knew we were doing these interviews, and they knew we were meeting the family, and they shared all of that joy. I felt like not only was it healing for me, but it was healing for my kids, because they didn't just see life ended and it was it. They saw life ended and other life began, or continued, I guess, not began, but continued because of the organ donation process. Now, years later, I have those same kids because I've moved up into middle school math, and so I have my 8th grade is the 4th graders that I had when this happened. And the other kids all through the school already knew about it too. Everyone is fully aware of this. When I say different things, just like, hey, I'm having a hard time this month. It's August when my son passed away. You guys know this, but remember, he was able to donate. When I say that, we end up having conversations about donating, and we have conversations about this. And it's just, if kids can even look at you and say, why wouldn't somebody donate? Then you're thinking, why aren't you adults getting this? The kids get it. It's not yours anyway. It's to be given away. So it's just, it all brings back to full circle again. And then just, once again, it just provides healing to see these kids can see the good out of the bad. That helps you see the good out of the bad. And like we said, it doesn't take away the bad. It just makes the good more visible or better. So yeah.
More good. Just donate.
Better.
That was beautifully said. Thank you so much. That was really, really great. I think that is, I'm dropping stuff. Pretty much all of Jamie's questions that she had that wanted to be covered from our perspective. Can you think of anything else that we've talked about in other ones that?
I think you covered like most of it really.
Is there anything, I'll kind of just leave it to you and don't feel pressure on this. Is there anything that you would just want to look straight at the camera to tell parents of a small child who are going through this? Just something very short and sweet to them that you would want them to know if they're kind of battling this decision?
Kind of like a plea.
You don't have to.
No, but if you would, that'd be great. No.
If you do, let's put this on camera because it'll be the first time.
And it doesn't have to be something fantastic, but I just would say something like 1 or 2 sentences straight to the camera, straight talking to a family who is deciding if they want to say yes or no. Something that you would want them to know.
I'll give it a
He's
shot.
gonna do it.
Of
I know you
course,
will.
yeah. Because if I was there, I'd make the decision for him. Yeah, boy, how do I want to phrase this? 2 sentences, short, quick.
You can do 3, whatever
Yeah,
you
no.
want. I just don't want it to be too much pressure.
Yeah, no, I know. I think as someone has been sitting there listening to the doctors and seeing your little boy or girl, ours was a boy, being told they're not going to make it, please donate, because you have just, when your child doesn't make it, you have just entered an elite group of people that we do not want more members of. So if we can donate and save lives, let's stop children from dying before they should.
I gotta think now because he said it all.
And you don't have to. I know that we had done that with a few other families. And if you can't think of something, you don't have to.
Come up with more.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah,
Let
just,
me hear.
just do it. I mean, I don't know. I like that one.
Just
Just
do it.
We're
Just,
gonna have new T-shirts. now.
Just donate.
Just donate. Yeah, I mean, just do it. You won't regret it. And if you do, it doesn't matter. It's too late.
Oh my goodness.
I think that's great.
You are on it. I don't think I got
I am
it.
on it.
He said it so well, I
This is
guess.
great. We're thinking of all these new slogans.
I know.
But it is. But and that's I don't know when I thought of that, but because you can't buy time. Because by donating, we bought her time.
Well, I guess the other thing
'cause
is,
she
and
has
I'm not
time.
saying I don't know 100% that the donor network wouldn't do this anyway, but we, I'm part of the Facebook Indiana Donor Network. I don't know, what do you call it? Is it an elite group? I mean, those who've donated, family members of those who have donated.
Donor heroes.
It's the Donor Hero Family Facebook page. That's just another part of feeling you're not alone, and just getting to share more, so that, because I think like what I hear a lot in the council and things is nobody wants their child or family member, whoever it is, who's passed away, their memory forgotten. And so this is just one way to keep their memory going. So if they're donating, then that memory is going. I mean, they're talking about Logan in Missouri all the time, you know. We're talking about it all the time too. But with that group, we get to share memories and keep the memory alive with each other as well. So that's another just side bonus. Plus there's the grief sessions. You're always getting notifications about you can come to this event if you would like. So just, you find ways that through donation you feel healing, but then even through the network now you're connected to, and you feel a connection to, because you are like family. They just helped you. They just had this very intimate relationship with your child, you know. To remove organs and to donate to somebody else. So
Yeah, because you have people tend to hang out with people that are either share life experiences or are like-minded or whatever. And if you choose yes to donation, you get this huge family that if you say no to donation, you kind of miss out on. And yeah, there's a lot of support and a lot of things going on, and a lot of people you can get connected to that they know exactly where you're coming from because they've done it, they've been there, or they've seen the process. They can put you in touch with somebody. The support group is just, along with just what you do for other people, the support group, the support you get from Indiana Donor Network, it's amazing. It's great.
And even the little things that the Donor Network keeps coming out with more special things, like kids, siblings of, donors get to have a hero cape, or, to show that their brother or sister was a hero and donating. And that wasn't something that had been mentioned or even thought of at the time. But it's okay. You want one for your child? We'll get you one, or like we said with the Heartbeat Bears, we'd heard about the Heartbeat Bears, and we were like, well, we didn't know about this at the time. And so once again, it's like, oh, okay, we can get you Heartbeat Bears. How many? I'm like, no, how many? I was just thinking we'd be excited with one. Well, we're glad we got two because the kids fight over them. And so Connor has one and Kendra has one, and we just go in their room when we want to see it. But it's cute, and it's heartwarming, and it's sad when they press the button and they love to listen to the heartbeat or the music that's with it, because we have one with just the heartbeat, one with the heartbeat timed to the music, and they swap off every now and then, and it's just fun to see them do different things, and Kendra gets to always, share about her brother who donated, and I don't know, it's a very healing process, like I say, when you see other people that don't have that to reflect back on. It's hard. We've got God. That's the main thing that helps us, and then the organ donation process helps us too. Those are the two reasons we can get up each day and keep going, and that works.
The price of being a member of the Indiana Family Donor Network is way too high, but if you have the cost in hand, you ought to do it.
You've got a free membership.
That's right. It's worth it.
Yeah.
Bird in the hand's better than two in the bush.
We really are done, I think.
I'm just having fun.
So people don't even know we're there. Yeah, they don't know we're there.
Yeah. How many kids do you have, Mindy?
I have two boys,
Okay.
19 and 8.
Okay. Awesome.
So yeah, one's out of high school and the other, is still in elementary. So. But yeah.
She's a little fly away. Yeah, I was gonna. Do you mind if I
Yeah, that's fine.
just touch you up a little bit? I don't
Yeah.
want to record and then you
Yeah.
like that little piece of hair here.
Yep.
There you go.
You're good.
We're good.
Good.
Whenever you're ready.
Okay. So just to recap my email, this might get a little emotional, might get a little raw, but we can stop whenever you want.
Okay.
Erin's gonna cut everything, so if
Okay.
there's a certain part that like you would prefer we not use or anything like that, just let us know and I'll make note of it.
Okay.
Water and tissues are right there. If I'm just keep rolling, we're just gonna have a conversation.
Okay.
So I have some questions, but I'd rather just kind of the three of us talk, and then
Okay.
we'll just kind of go from there. Again, even if Hadley asks you a question, try to
Look at you.
If
Gotcha.
you can, yeah, just because I'm closer to the lens.
Okay.
More than likely, I'll probably be quiet this first one at least.
Okay.
Yeah, sounds good. So basically, we just want to know about Chris, his story, and how donation has impacted your family. So that's like the whole goal of
Okay.
the video. And then, like I mentioned, it's going to be used in the hospitals when families are either struggling to authorize donation,
Mhm.
or if their loved one was a registered donor, but they're still really, really struggling with the fact that they're going to become a donor, and just to provide some of that additional comfort.
Gotcha. Okay.
Or at-home education, if families
Sure.
are at home and not at the hospital and can't talk to us.
Yeah.
So,
Gotcha.
kind of the three
Yep.
things. Okay. So, if you'll just start out by introducing yourself and your connection to donation.
Sure. Hi, my name is Mandy Montgomery, and I am the donor sister of a donor hero, Chris Curry.
Okay, do that one more time.
Hi, my name is Mandy Montgomery, and I am the donor sister of a donor hero named Chris Curry.
Sound okay?
Yeah, it sounds great.
Good?
Okay, cool. So just tell me about Chris, kind of who he was and his personality, things like your relationship with him and your sister Courtney.
Sure. Sorry. I always get emotional when I start talking about my brother.
That's okay.
All right. Chris was my brother. He was also my best friend. A lot of people actually thought that we were twins, even though we were 6 years apart, because we were always together. And he passed away in 2017, very tragically, and our family wasn't really sure if he was going to make it. When we were told that he wasn't, my mom gathered us all in the hallway and said, let's talk about organ donation. I think Chris would want this. This is what we need to do. So as a family, we made the decision to do that. However, we found out that Chris had already made that decision for himself. We met with the team at Indiana Donor Network in the hospital who told us that he had made that decision, which made it easier for us to know we were doing what Chris wanted to do. As a person, Chris was the most giving person I've ever met in my entire life. He was extremely giving. He would give the shirt off his back to anybody that needed it. He was a daddy, a brother, an uncle, a hero to his nephews. And he was also the kid that would get in trouble with all the kids, cause shenanigans, and just when he showed up, everything stopped with the kids because Uncle Chris was here. So he was just a great person and my best friend, always there for me.
Can you tell me a little bit more about what that conversation in the hallway was like with your mom and the rest of your family?
Sure, absolutely. So it was about 3:00 in the morning when we received the phone call that Chris was in the hospital, and we thought that he was just sick. And so we all gathered at the hospital, and when we arrived, we found out that it was a little bit more. So they took us back to see him, and my mom gathered us in the hallway right outside of his room. She said we needed to be realistic. We needed to really think about what was going to happen and that Chris probably was not going to come out of this. So it was myself, my dad, my sister Courtney, and I that all gathered there, along with about 40 of our closest friends and family that had come to be with us as well. And there we made that decision that we wanted to proceed with organ donation. And then later we found out that Chris had already made it easier for us because it's what he wanted to do.
Sounds like just like, typical Chris, given
Yep.
that everyone else around him.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. So, can you talk a little bit about what donation has done for your family, what this community has been like for you all, and how that has impacted your grief?
Sure. So before Chris passed, my dad had actually had a really bad stroke a few years ago. Chris was literally the backbone of our family. He took care of everything. He showed up at my parents' house every Saturday or Sunday, took care of my mom's honey-do list. So to say that he really took care of our family and really was the backbone was the truth. He stepped up and took care of the things that my dad couldn't take care of anymore. And when the Indiana Donor Network approached us about organ donation and we said yes, immediately, we dug in because we received some gifts from the Indiana Donor Network team. And so I went online to purchase additional gifts so that way everyone in our family would be able to have some of those items. And when I did, I saw the call for advocates. And so I dug a little deeper on the website, and then I called my sister and said, hey, do you want to do this with me? To which she said yes. So my sister Courtney and I signed up, and we met with Corinne at the office and went through the training and immediately became advocates. Through that journey and the grief that we saw with my brother and going through everything, I can't tell you what it did for us. Being able to take something so tragic and to focus on it in such a positive way really helped the healing of my family. Also, helping our kids. We always thought that from the very beginning it's been important to include our kids in all of this. My sister has 3 children, I have 2 children, and Chris had 2 children of his own. And through this entire process, they've been able to remember Uncle Chris and their daddy as a hero. Nothing bad for them. So it's been really great to be able to share this journey and the opportunities that the Indiana Donor Network team has offered us through, the Hands of Hope programs and Donor Hero Camp. And just, asking us how can their team continue to help families and help us feel better. Our family even donated a bench for people to enjoy at the office. So if they want to go out and take, some time, they can go sit on that bench and reflect. For us, it's a place where we can remember that Chris was a good listener. So hopefully he'll listen to everybody else too.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Shoot, I just lost my question. There was something that you said that I thought was really impactful, and I wanted to expand on it.
Yeah.
Oh, so, Chris, being who he was registered as a donor, but if he wasn't registered and maybe if your family had hesitated or had decided to say no, how do you think that would have changed your grief journey?
Sure. That's a hard question. I don't think that the answer ever would have been no. I think that it always would have been yes. honestly, growing up, our parents always taught us to give back. That's just what you did. Even if you didn't have money, you gave what you could. Your time and, whatever you had available, whether it was, an extra outfit you had sitting in your closet or whatever it was, you gave because that somebody else needed it more than you did. So I honestly don't know that no would have been an answer for us. I always think it would have been yes, because for us, it was one other way that we could continue to give back, that it's something that was instilled in Chris as well, that Chris knew that that's what you were supposed to do. I don't need him anymore. Someone else needs this more than I do.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
That last piece I think is really, really important, something that we discuss a lot, and I know that you and your family talk about that a lot. So what would you say to a family who is struggling to say yes?
If you're struggling to say yes, really think about the impact that it can make for other families. It may seem really hard right now, but especially if you have kids, it's so easy to be able to start having those conversations with your kids right away. It's really easy to start talking to your kids about the hero that your family member was, and to really focus on something really positive that came out of a bad situation. It doesn't matter how they passed away, it still hurts. But being able to remember them and carry on their legacy and tell stories, and for them to be able to tell their friends that that person that they loved was a hero, I think is really important.
You're hired, man. Everything already.
Come on, I just go back to my kids, this it helps them.
Can you talk about some of the difficult moments, like when you were in the hospital, when you were saying goodbye to Chris?
Mm-hmm.
Don't share anything that is uncomfortable. I don't want to
Sure.
to push you too far, but just kind of some of those harder, raw moments.
Yeah. So while we were in the hospital, and we didn't know if Chris was going to make it, throughout the day, doctors at the hospital would come to us and provide us updates. The hospital that we were at was always fantastic to us. The doctor would come in and ask us to repeat what we knew so far. So we would. They would make sure that we had processed the information that we had so far, and then they would provide us new information. A little after about 1:30 in the afternoon, a doctor came into a waiting room. We had over 40 people that at this point had shown up and been there to be with Chris and to hear, what was going to happen next. And she asked for Mrs. Curry, to which my mom stood up and she said, "That's me." And she said, "I'd like the family to gather in Chris's room so we can have a conversation." And my mom stood up and she said, "We're all family here and we're all coming." So all 40 of us crowded in a very little hospital room. And the doctor, before she even started, she looked at my mom and she said, "I'd like to know who everybody else is in this room and how they're connected to Chris." And the things that you heard in that room that day, brother, sister, uncle, the typical family relations. But the one that really stood out to me the most was brother from another mother, because a lot of Chris's friends really felt that he was truly their brother, and they were all there to be with him. After they got through all 40 of us, she asked my mom to repeat everything that we knew so far. So my mom went through everything the doctors had told us. And at the end, she said, "Okay, I want to provide you guys with additional information." And that's when she told us that as of 1:07 p.m. that afternoon, there was no more brain activity and Chris had passed. I've never seen people, be so emotional, because we really had hope that Chris was going to pull through, but he didn't. That was probably the hardest day of my entire life and the hardest moment of that whole day, because I held on hoping that he would be there, and he laid there lifeless. The next night, we all came back to the hospital to say our final goodbyes before he went in for his transplant. And we had our immediate family there. At this point, we didn't invite everyone. We just had immediate family come in and say goodbye, as well as our pastor and our pastor's daughter, who we were really close to. And one thing I remember about that night is that Chris loved Eminem, a lot. That was his favorite rap artist. And so the nurse turned on rap music. She played Eminem loud for everybody in the hallways to hear. and our pastor began to pray. And after he said his prayer, his daughter began to laugh. And my sister nudged her and she said, "Katie, you can't laugh right now, you know?" And she said, "I can't help it. This is the first time my dad's ever said prayer with Eminem playing in the background." So we had a good laugh about it that night, and we said our final goodbyes, and we took pictures of our family holding his hand. So the last picture that we took was all 5 of us and our hands together to say our goodbyes, as well as a hand of another picture of the hands of me and my sister also holding on to him, because the 3 of us were very close.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yep.
Can you talk a little bit about the additional time that Chris was in the hospital from when he was pronounced dead to when he went into recovery, and what that time was like for your family, and if you feel like it aided in your grief journey and kind of giving you a little bit more closure?
Sure. Yeah, I remember. Try to block some of it out, you know? Like, try not to think about it. Okay. So after they told us that there was no brain activity and that Chris had passed, we immediately began meeting with the Indiana Donor Network team. They were extremely gracious, extremely patient, and they asked our family, several questions about Chris, just to learn about who he was, some of his health history and things like that, and our decision that we had made. Every couple of hours, their team called us to give us updates on where he was. They actually had told us that they had 3 matches for Chris. His lungs, his kidneys, and his liver all had matches. So we were really excited to know that Chris was going to be able to help somebody else. They told us that it was going to happen the next night, and they would continue to monitor Chris overnight. So we all went home to try to get a good night's sleep. I don't know if any of us really slept that night, but we did try. And then we came back the next day to just be with him during that process. And that evening, the Indiana Donor Network team did come in and presented my mom with several gifts, which we still cherish today. And even a teddy bear that we ended up giving to his son, who was 10 months old when he passed. So that way he had a little something to remember his daddy too. Sorry. It's so hard to talk about it. After we received the gifts, we just really took some time to just be with Chris, be together, and really, understand what the next steps were. We enjoyed each other's company. We talked to lots of the nurses and lots of the doctors, told stories about Chris, and just really just tried to remember what kind of person that he was. After they took him back, the Indiana Donor Network team called us the next morning to let us know that everything was successful. However, 2 of his organs were not able to be used. Chris had actually developed pneumonia while in the hospital, and they were hoping that they were going to be able to use his lungs, but at that point they were not able to do that. But there was still hope for his kidneys and his liver. His kidneys, unfortunately, were not able to be used. They did put them on dialysis, but his liver was a success. And since then, we actually have been able to meet his recipient, to which we're good friends with her today.
Do you feel good? I don't know.
Yeah.
Anything else?
I don't think so.
You did
Okay.
a great job.
Thanks.
Thank you so
Very
much.
good job.
Yeah.
We really appreciate it. We know it's really hard to talk about, but I think it's really gonna be super impactful for our families and just save more lives, which is, sounds like it's just in the spirit of your family and
Yep.
Chris and carrying on his legacy.
That's all we want to do.
appreciate it.
Yep, you're welcome. Thank you, guys.
Perfect. Thanks, Mandy. I'll walk you out.
Okay.
Do you guys need, we can stop at any time. And then also, this is obviously not live, so if there's anything that you say and then kind of decide you don't want to be put in the video, just let us know. We
Okay.
can definitely make sure that that doesn't happen. I mentioned this in my email, but we plan to use these videos in the hospital, so if families are either struggling to make a decision about donation, or if their loved one was a registered donor and they're still really struggling with that decision, just to provide them some additional comfort and to hear from families who have been through what they're going through.
Okay.
That's how we plan to use it today.
Not sure about
Yeah, it'll be here.
that. I don't understand that.
I don't know, did I break something?
Not
Hit
yet.
my head?
No, we're just turning off the noise so it doesn't interrupt you guys speaking.
There's no
I
buttons on the
came
television.
from, I think it came from that speaker.
Yeah, I was just gonna turn the TV off and hope that it would.
Oh, there's no buttons.
There's no buttons.
It's hard to turn this TV off because it's plugged in.
Technology is not always our friend. Here's our little remote.
That's for the Apple TV though, I think. If that doesn't work, we can just
It's fine.
work around it.
Like each other real quick.
Alright, I'm good, guys.
If you just wanna start by introducing yourself and your,
Back a little bit. I'm sorry. Perfect.
sorry, and your, connection to donation and the organization.
Go ahead.
We're Randy and Julie, and our son Cody was an organ donor 6 years ago. They used his heart, his lungs, his kidneys, his pancreas went to research at the Diabetes Association. Since I was a diabetic since 4 years old, they wanted to use it for research. It's been 6 years, and it's been, the donation process has been a wonderful healing and therapeutic road for us.
Does that sound okay?
Yeah, sounds great.
Can I skip a little closer?
Yes.
So you can look at the camera or me, whichever is
Okay.
more comfortable for you all. Can you just kind of tell me about Cody? Tell me what he was like and
Cody was 21. He was going to Trine University. He was in his junior year. He was studying engineering. He played football in grade school, middle school, high school, and then went on to play in college. He was very active, loved demolition derbies, loved to deer hunt, loved to pick on his sister, loved spending time with us as a family. You would always find his friends and him at our house all the time. When he was home from college on break, everybody was at our house, and it was nothing for him to have all of his friends over, and we were just kind of like the cool parents, I guess, because everybody wanted to be there. And Cody had a lot of friends and was very active in football, FFA, 4-H. I mean, he loved baseball, didn't play, but he loved baseball. And I know on Sundays we would always sit down and watch the football games, and he would teach me a lot, even though I went to his games. But he would teach me a lot, and that was always our time and his dad's time. And his dad liked the Cowboys, we liked the Colts, so there was always a little bit of bad talk in the house. But we loved it, and we still do. We do it every Sunday to honor him. So.
Randy, can you tell me one of your favorite memories of Cody?
I would say it was probably the he liked Jeff Saturday, and a friend of mine give us tickets to go to the Colts, and he actually, we were four rows from the field. They were great seats. He didn't get his autograph, but he got a jersey, Jeff Saturday jersey, and that's all he could talk about for months after that. Everybody loved Cody. I mean, he was a easygoing kid. He never had any enemies. He was a good kid. Yeah.
Thank you both for sharing and letting us get to know Cody. So can you tell me a little bit what it was like to learn of his passing and what that time in the hospital was like for you? Whatever you feel comfortable with sharing. Don't feel like you need to share anything that you would rather not talk about.
I was not home. Randy got a text from Cody and said he needed to come home. Long story short, Randy went home, called 911. Samaritan came. They took him to a Fort Wayne hospital. they found me. I was with my best friend, and they had found me and took me to the hospital. I didn't know why. I knew it wasn't Randy. I knew it wasn't Lindsay. They said it was Cody, and that's all they said. So we get there, and I remember walking in, and it just being like a dream almost. And they sat us down, and they talked about everything that was going on with Cody. And we knew that he was an organ donor. But when you're in that situation, it's kind of like, well, wait a minute, what's going on, you know? And they walked us through everything. The transplant coordinator came in. She was wonderful. Walked us through everything, honored our wishes, what we wanted to do, what we didn't want to do, as far as donation. And she really listened to our story about Cody, got to know Cody, got to know Randy, knew that he liked Pepsi, and she made sure he had a Pepsi around the clock because we didn't leave. We were blessed to have a couple extra days with Cody because there was some issues with getting the staff up to Fort Wayne from Indy because it was winter. And so we were blessed to have a couple extra days. But I'll tell you what, she made it. She got us a Ronald McDonald House so we could stay there and shower. They just really made us feel like we were the only ones, and that our son mattered, and that he was a hero, which we already felt that he was. But we never second guessed his decision, our decisions, and we still haven't. And we haven't second guessed anything. We really had wonderful, wonderful staff from Indiana Donor Network walk us through everything and be with us side by side, explaining everything, telling us what was going on. There was never a moment that we didn't know what was going on. They kept us in the loop 100%.
Thank you for sharing and talking about a really difficult time. Can you talk a little bit about how donation has aided in your grief journey after losing Cody?
We met the young man that got Cody's heart, and that was a blessing for me because I could still hear Cody's heart beating. That recipient has went on to compete in the World Games for Paralympics and stuff, and he would have never got to do that without Cody's heart. He's stronger. He's been sick since he was little, so he's getting to live life like Cody would have wanted to live life. Travel and have fun and pursue the things that he wanted to do. So that to me has been the biggest blessing because we've seen his legacy go on. We can keep his memory alive by saying his name and honoring him, but this, young man is truly living his dreams, and that to me is the biggest comfort there is.
What would you say to other families who are struggling to say yes?
It's hard in the situation, and I know it is. And our son was a donor. I mean, he had it on his license, but I have always felt like giving somebody a second chance is truly a blessing. And the nurses and the doctors and everybody that's involved truly care. And they care about the recipient, they care about the donors, they care about everybody. And that's the biggest peace of mind a parent like myself can have, is our son was never a number. He still is not a number. If I call here today, they still can answer questions for me. And that's the biggest thing in grief, that you always want answers, especially as a mom. You always want answers. And I've never been left without an answer for what I want to know at the time.
very much for sharing all of that. As a family who is now impacted by donation in a different way, what would you say to maybe the family of your potential kidney match?
As a mom, as a grandma that needs a transplant, as a spouse, my husband comes home and takes care of me every night. We do dialysis after he gets off work. To not have to be hooked up to that machine to live. I feel like I exist right now, but I don't live life like I want to. And I want to watch my granddaughter grow up. I want to watch my daughter continue to succeed and her husband. And I would love a second chance at life. I've been, the cancer is what killed my kidneys and why I need a transplant now. But I am a fighter, and it breaks my heart that somebody has to go through what we've had to go through with losing a child or losing somebody you love. But there is somebody on the other side that truly wants to live and get back to life and not rely on a machine, to be able to be a husband and wife again and not a doctor patient would be so wonderful to be able to do the things that we've put on hold for 7 years.
And then just kind of the last question that I have, can you talk a little bit more about those few extra days that you had with Cody in the hospital and how that impacted you?
Those extra days for me were a blessing. I know there was some issues that people thought, oh my gosh, this is such a drawn out process. It wasn't that. We got to sit there and talk to Cody and hold his hand. I mean, granted, he wasn't talking back, but we got to be with him. We got to, smell him, touch him, feel him, and know that, he was still there with us. And it gave us extra time to tell his story and for people to know him, even though he couldn't tell them about himself. We were able to do that. We were able to show pictures. His friends that were there were able to, tell stories. And those are the things that Randy and I we go back and we talk about that time and the stories and the impact that he had in a small community, but had such a big heart. And that gives us some comfort too, because if he wouldn't have been a donor, we wouldn't have had that extra time with him. We wouldn't have, and we did. And it's not the time we wanted to have with him, but it was still time, and time is so precious. So we cherish that. We honestly do, and we talk about it, and that's something that we just have to hold on to.
Yeah, thank you. Cindy, is there anything you'd like to add about that extra time?
It helps with closure. I know a lot of people don't get that, but that extra day and a half we had, I wouldn't trade it for the world, because a lot of people don't get what we got out of that.
And then I know I said my last question was my final question. But I have one more. What would you say to a family who has already made the decision to allow their loved one to be a donor, but are still really struggling with that decision, and they're really, really fresh in their grief?
I think for us, we found a support group it's just for parents that have lost have lost children, but we found a support group, and you have to talk about it. You cannot close that door on communication. And I know we've both been at different parts in our grief process, but where he's at, maybe I've already been through. So you have to talk. You have to find somebody to talk to. And I mean, I called down here a couple of times and said, hey, you know, I'm really struggling. Can you guys help me out? Can you recommend something? Or I've seen him struggling and I don't know I don't have all the answers, but they've even helped us get resources. And I really feel like for us, it's been communication. We have been an open book. We've found things, I mean, he races, so that's his out, you know, and I know when he's on the racetrack, that's his baby, you know, and that's how he deals sometimes. If he can't talk about it, he races, you know, and I think you just have to, I honestly feel like the number one thing is communication and finding something that makes you feel whole again, because you're never going to be whole again. There's going to be that empty spot in your heart, but something that makes you feel alive. And that's honestly what has gotten me through this.
What kind of racing do you like?
Dirt track racing, basically any kind of racing. Yeah, no.
He does dirt track,
Yeah,
but yeah,
yeah.
but that's his out, you know, and I've never told him not to do it. He took a year off after Cody passed because that was Cody and his, that's, you know, they were out in the barn always working on I mean, Randy drove, Cody usually fixed things, so there was always, you know, like that, oh gosh, love-hate relationship with them. And but they had so many good laughs and good times out there, and he took that year off and then went back out and just, you know, pursued it wholeheartedly. And I that's wonderful for him, and I think it helps him let go of some of that, you know, because you go through all those stages and you just got to find something and somebody to talk to. I can talk to him, but I also have a best friend that's been there since it happened, and she lets me talk about it. She cries, I cry, we try to figure it out, but sometimes there aren't answers.
I think the biggest fear is, as parents, is people forgetting about him, not saying his name. That's the hardest thing for me.
Yeah.
Do you feel like donation has given you an avenue to make sure that doesn't happen?
Yes.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Because people, even though we don't know a lot about all of the recipients, we do know about, you know, the kid that got his heart, and people will ask, well, how's he doing? Or, you know, and that to me is also asking about how's Cody, and they kind of go hand in hand. And so, but we always, I mean, there's not a day that goes by that we don't talk about
Yeah.
Cody, or, well, donation too, really, you know, and it's a big part of our lives. We're advocates now for Indiana Donor Network. We signed up for that 3 months after he passed away because we had such, we just wanted to help you guys like you had helped us, you know. Every day is a new day, and every day is a new challenge after you lose somebody. And no matter what was going on, if we had a question, somebody was there to get us through that and make us feel just as important as we had when Cody, you know, when he passed away. So we wanted to give that back too by being advocates and helping other people.
And the recipient, he sends us Facebook stuff on Cody's birthday, and it just,
He got some medals when he competed in the Paralympic Games, and I don't know, it was across the pond. Anyway, he sent us one of those too, so we have that with Cody's stuff. You know, those things you look at and it just brings a smile to your face. You know, knowing that Cody continues to help people live is the biggest gift and blessing us as parents could ask for.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing your story, letting us get to know Cody. And it sounds like you raised a very, very generous young man who made himself the decision to sign up, and then you all have continued to that legacy. So we really appreciate it, and we appreciate you being advocates and being here today.
Thank you.
That's all we have, unless you all have anything else you'd like to share.
Do you have anything?
I actually might add a question, if you don't mind.
absolutely.
No, no.
Randy, it sounds like you've been such a source of support for Julie. That's amazing. Can you talk a little bit about what it's like to be married to someone who's waiting for a gift of her own?
It's very hard to see the pain she goes through every day. I get up in the morning at 6 o'clock. I go to work. I come home. As soon as I get home, I hook her up to dialysis, and it's a 3.5 hour process. And it's an everyday thing. It's not, one day on, one day off. It's every day. And we've been doing that for
6 years.
Yeah, 6 years. And, she has her good days, she has her bad days. We don't go anywhere, we can't get out of the house. We just, we're stuck to our, our comfort zone at home. But to see the pain that she goes through every day is hard. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
Well, I think I speak for all of us that you are a very inspiring couple.
Thank you.
We really thank you for being here today.
We thank you for having us. When Lindsay said, "Oh, Mom, I'm."
You should absolutely.
They don't want a music video, Cheyenne. She's trying to get her stardom.
On TikTok?
Oh.
Just anywhere. She sang in Key West
Okay.
at Sloppy Joe's. She got up and sang,
That's
and
awesome.
live band in a bar is
Wow.
kind of.
That's a big
What did
deal.
you sing?
Conquer Road, Take Me Home.
Nice.
I can't remember what it's called.
Yeah. Great song.
Mhm,
Classic.
mhm.
Try to hear it well.
All right, I'm rolling.
All right. So just kind of introduce yourself and then tell us about Chad.
My name is Lisa Cowan. I'm 48 years old. I've been married to James for 21 years. We have 2 daughters, Cheyenne, who is 13, Sierra, who's 11, and then we had our son Chad. He's our donor hero. Chad was born with heart defect, and he had 3 open heart surgeries, 4 eye surgeries, and 2015 he was all this minding his own business, and all of a sudden he started coughing up blood, and he was taken to Riley, and he had to have a lobectomy, which is a partial lung removal with the use of ECMO, and it was life-threatening. And then they found out that he still had some infection in his lung, so he had to have a second surgery to remove some more lung. And then the hospital, they kind of sent us to hospice care, told us that Chad would be bedridden because in the process of getting to Riley, Chad had suffered a noxic brain injury, and they said that he would be bedridden and on a ventilator the rest of his life. And they wanted us to let Chad go and think about the quality of life. We decided that we wanted Chad to have a fighting chance and put him in God's hands. And he surpassed many expectations from a lot of people. And he was in the hospital for 3 months. He did over 100 therapies, rehab, to learn to walk, talk, and eat all over again. And in the process, his rehab physician would challenge Chad to get into the wrestling ring, and to wrestle his doctor for charity to help other kids. And that's where he acquired the name Bad Chad 3 Count Cowan. And he beat his doctor. And in the process, he was named 2018 Riley Champion. And during that time, he was able to get his high school, Tri-Central, to be Riley donors and raise money for 3 red wagons for Riley Hospital. And Chad then was granted a wish from the Indiana Children's Wish Fund. Chad decided he wanted to leave a legacy, and he didn't want a moment for himself. He wanted to leave something for his peers. So he created Chad's Cafe, which is a coffee cart, a mobile coffee cart for his high school, where it's for the learning disability program, for the kids to learn job and life skills and make money. The money they made went towards field trips for their class, and Chad decided he was going to take his class on a field trip to get lunch and buy food and supply local food banks and keep paying it forward. And every time Chad would give a speech, he would say, if you throw your pebble in the pond, it creates a ripple effect, and together we can make waves. And he'd say that every time he'd speak in public. So then, after that, Chad was writing to the, became friends with the chief of the USS Eisenhower, and he started sending care packages back and forth to them, and they were impressed by Chad and what he had accomplished, and they decided to start saying Chad on. So when things got rough for them on the ship, they would say Chad on. So we got Chad on from that. And then after that, Chad was, he had went back to school and made a full recovery, actually running and doing everything he could in school to get caught back up with his peers. And then one day, minding our own business, he was playing PlayStation, and all of a sudden he had went to the restroom and suffered a cardiac arrest at home in front of his little sisters. And I had to perform CPR, but with Chad's anoxic brain injury, the longer he went without oxygen to his brain, I knew it was not going to be good. But we were able to bring him back and get his heart going. But at this point, all we wanted to do was get Chad stable and get him back to Riley where it all began. And Chad was then declared brain dead, but his heart was still going. And we were there again, put in a position where we had to make a decision. And obviously we did not want to pull the plug on our son, but we were just devastated because we couldn't understand. And the donor network team came in, and my husband and I were like, whoa, wait a minute. First of all, how can this be? Because Chad, his heart was bad, his lungs were bad. Chad had suffered a lot in his short life that we didn't want to put him through yet another surgery. And so when they came in, we were like, absolutely no, we're not going to do this. We took everything we could to get Chad to the hospital, and to put him through that would be just, no, let his body rest. But then we took a moment, and we decided we were going to go outside and and talk and figure out, we had to put ourselves in Chad's shoes, not what we wanted, but what Chad would want. And being the person that he was, and throwing his pebble, we decided that if Chad was here, he would tell us, I don't need it. Give it to somebody who does. And so we decided to make that decision to donate and put Chad through that. But we were torn because we didn't really want to do that, but we felt like it was maybe God's way of letting us do something other than pull the plug. And so he did that and became a donor hero. He was able to save 2 more lives, and we have no regrets. Other people are leading better lives because of Chad. And through the donor network, we became really close with our specialist, and Chad had collected keys. That was his thing as well. So our Ursula, I'm just gonna say her name, she brought in a key and wanted me to put it in Chad's casket for her. But since then, we've written letters, and we put that in God's hands too. We love to meet the recipients, but maybe someday. But no regrets.
Thank you for sharing that. Sounds like Chad was definitely a hero in life and death. So
Yeah. Now you can find Chad. They changed the Riley Champions to Chad Cowan's Spirit of a Champion. So he left that legacy. He's on the wall at Riley Hospital, and he's in the heart ICU unit and down in the outpatient center. And he left a legacy at school. I mean, Chad was all about helping others, and he got the second chance of life. And in 2 years, he did more than most of us do our whole lives, and impacted others to want to pay it forward and strive to do better and have hope. And throwing pebbles. Now his aunts and uncles and sisters and cousins, everybody has become registered organ donors because of Chad and want to be a hero like Chad. So.
well, thank you. That was perfect. Yeah, it's quite a story. Yeah.
It is a story, but he was 17, and children, they're the most innocent. So, they say sometimes they're spiritual leaders right here on earth, and I believe Chad was one of them. And if he changed one person's life. But I also wanted to say that when we were sitting in there preparing for the organ donation, the words, we have a match. It's just undescribable feeling. That's it.
Okay. Yeah.
Wait a minute, they're going to ask me questions now.
It's okay. We can take a breather. Yeah. Can you tell me a little bit first of all, can you tell me who Ursula is, just so we have it on?
I don't know what her title.
You can just say she is like the Indiana Donor Network representative that spoke with us, or our family advocate, or our specialist. Just kind of introduce who Ursula was and what she means to your family.
I don't know Ursula's last name.
That's okay. We can just use first name.
Okay, Ursula, she was our donor advocate. And, yeah. And then, I also wanted to say that after the organ donation and bringing Chad home, we went to our local mortuary. And, with Chad already having so many surgeries, we wanted to make sure that Chad was taken care of. And being personal friends with the mortuary, we expected an honest answer. And we got one, because we said, was Chad taken care of? Like he was your own son? And they said, absolutely. They did a wonderful job on your son. So that just completed, yes, we did the right thing. It's not something that we wanted for Chad, but this is what Chad would want for Chad. And they absolutely took care of Chad. And I wanted to make sure I mentioned that because, everything goes through your mind when you think of organ donation. And, I don't mean to be rude, but my husband was like, I don't want him to be cut up and all his parts taken away from him, And
That's not rude, that's a very normal feeling for a lot of families.
yeah, we wanted to make sure that he was taken care of, and he was.
Can you talk to me a little bit about what that conversation was like about Ursula and the struggles that you and your husband went through when you were making that decision?
What do you mean?
So you've kind of touched on it a little bit already, that this is something that you guys really struggled with, to saying yes, but you looked to Chad and kind of what he had already done in his life, and this is what he wanted. What were some of the things that what were some of the things that you all said to each other outside of this is what Chad would have wanted that made you say yes, if that makes sense?
I don't know. It's just, honestly, my husband and I went outside of the hospital. We were around no one because we felt it was our decision, not a family thing. And as crazy as it sounds, we were sitting there talking, and a little bird came down. And that bird, it was like the bird was listening to our conversation. And then after we've decided, okay, let's do let's think about Chad and what Chad would want, and let's do what Chad wants. It can't be about us. And as soon as we made that decision, that bird was gone. So it was like, spiritually, that was Chad. And okay, my parents did the right thing. Now I can go, type of thing. So, of course we had a lot of questions, and man, I don't know. I mean, you don't want to pull the plug, but that option was there, and like I said, we didn't know that that was even an option for Chad because of his long history of medical problems. But we also didn't want him to be... Chad was our son, not just a kid that had a kidney or,
Can you talk a little bit about from the time that you said yes to when Chad went in for his recovery and you found out that he had a match, and some of the questions that you had, and if you felt like those were answered, and just the experience that you had with Indiana Donor Network from when you decided to say yes until you found out that they found it?
Well, actually, we were in the room filling out paperwork, and the young man that was with Ursula, I don't know his name, he came in and said, I think he was trying to tell her privately that there was a match. And we were there, and we heard. And like I said, the feeling is just overwhelming, just the words. Sorry.
Okay, sorry.
So, What was your question?
Did you feel like your experience in the hospital, from when you were filling out paperwork, your experience with Ursula, and even that young man, did you feel like Indiana Donor Network supported you through that and answered all of the questions that you had?
Yes. There was a lot of compassion, understanding, informational. No matter how off the wall the question was, I'm a very vocal person, and I'm say what you kind of think type of person, and I just flat out ask her, and she was straight up with me, and I appreciated that, not sugarcoating anything, it totally made it our decision, not trying to push anything on us, or, hey, this is an option for you. Look at long term. And my thinking was, okay, so the organs that Chad was able to donate, even if it gave someone, honestly, one of the persons he donated his organs to, because there was two, one of them was able to get 6 more months with his family, and he had children and a wife, and those 6 months probably meant everything to them. And it wasn't, I didn't feel like Chad's donation was wasted. The other was a kidney that went to a retired Navy person who was on dialysis, and Chad's kidney was able to give him a full life, and he walks 3 miles a day. Yet I've never met them. Maybe we would like to, but still, just knowing is good enough for us. But the whole process was just a feeling that's kind of indescribable. And the blanket that was made by someone, we still have his donor, because Chad was a champion. I call Chad a champion of life, and now a donor hero. Riley champion, a Timmy global health wrestling champion, but to me, a champion of life, and inspiring to have me become a organ donor, and his peers even, which is important, that it's not just the adults, it's the young, his peers are like standing back and they're like, oh wow, Chad saving lives and making difference and leaving a legacy. I want to be like Chad. And he's inspiring so many people just by throwing his pebble in the pond. So did I answer the question? Because
You're doing great.
because
You're doing a beautiful job.
I just want to make it clear that it wasn't an easy decision, and didn't even know that it was even a decision that could be made.
Yeah, no, you're doing amazing. And the only reason I'm asking questions is just to give you more of an opportunity to tell your story. So if there's anything about Chad's story, your grief journey that you want to talk about, feel free to share that.
Well, I will say that, after Chad's passing, it's not, okay, well, thank you. We have, Chad will be on the wall. We're going to have a wall ceremony. You can come make an ornament. And it's not just limited to the immediate family. My parents, my grandparents, cousins, sisters, brothers, they all come here to create whatever in memory of Chad. Just taking that moment to make an ornament or we've made pots, flower pots, rocks, just anything. No matter what it is, it's the whole point of celebrating Chad's life, being together as a family. And we've been to the celebration of life and honoring Chad. I mean, it's not just thank you. It's let's continue to remember the organ donation and the life, celebrate life.
Do you feel like Chad's donation and the fact that his recipients are lived on for 6 months and even longer has aided you in your grief journey and with processing that loss?
Well, grieving for a child is nobody really can understand unless they've been there, and it's definitely helped our grieving process as far as closure, I guess you could say. It's hard for me to get into the grief because Chad passed away in 2018, and the grief is always there. It's a daily struggle. So, but it has helped me, our family, cope with his grief, celebrating his life in different ways. I don't know what.
There's no right or wrong answer.
No, I mean, I don't know. I can't really go into the grieving because I'm on the donor council and I have yet to say a word, and it's been three years, and I don't say anything because it's still fresh. It's like yesterday. So
We always talk about how grief is so unexpected, and it could be 10, 15 years down the road and you smell something and it reminds you of the loved one that you
Yeah.
lost. So there's no right or wrong way to grieve, and it's so unexpected. So we just thank you for being here today and allowing us to aid you through that grief journey.
well, the Chad's coffee card is still there. He's on the wall at Riley. We continue to raise money and donate to organizations that Chad was involved in, which is quite a few, but we got to continue his legacy because, like I said, he's our spiritual leader because, God could have taken him a long time ago. And then to be faced with that same decision, I felt like I was reliving this moment. Except this time, the outcome is not going to be the same. But he's impacted so many people within 2 years and made a difference. And it's breathtaking.
Hadley, do you have anything else?
No questions?
You did a wonderful job.
Yeah.
Wow. I just hope I got everything out because the boy did a lot of things. And innocent,
Yeah. He sounds like a really, really incredible
Yeah,
guy.
he does. A lot of pebbles.
Yeah. Lots of ways.
He's been on Channel 59.
Cool.
He's been the chief. I don't know what they're called on the
Captain, maybe? I don't know.
The anchor?
uh,
No, the USS.
no, he's
Oh, Eisenhower.
yeah, he's like the big
Colonel?
chief. He's
Head sailor.
anyways.
Okay.
That's what
Alright. I'm rolling.
if you wanted to know.
Oh, I look good. What are you talking about?
I need the lighting to credit.
Oh, okay. Oh, well, it is because I'm right
is you're
here.
sitting.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So if you don't mind introducing yourself. Oh, I'm
Yes.
sorry. Lean it in.
Yep.
We're good?
Yep.
Okay. Please introduce yourself and tell me a little bit about what it was like growing up with Chad and a little bit about yourself.
All right. Hi, my name is Cheyenne Cowan. I'm 13 years old. I'm a daughter of James and Lisa Cowan, and I'm a sister of Sierra and Chad Cowan. The feeling is definitely understandable. When I was with Chad, he would play basketball with me. He would just, he repeat your question.
If you
Sorry.
just tell me a little bit about Chad and what it was like being his little sister.
Chad was definitely a wonderful brother. He was very outgoing, outspoken a lot, and he's very, very so kind. He's very a gentleman too. Yeah. What it was like being. I'm like, my mind's just going blank. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I'm like,
Fine.
my mind's just not there today. Maybe it's because I'm nervous.
Very new experience.
Yeah. This is hard. I can't even do this. I'm gonna ask you one more time. I'm so sorry, ma'am.
You're perfectly fine.
Can you
Please
repeat?
don't say sorry the board game. I don't know.
I like that phrase. I love that. I'm
Your
gonna
guys' generation
that.
need to know sorry board game. Do you guys play board games?
Yeah.
This turns into a fight.
She cheats all the time. I don't know what we're talking about here now.
So tell me a little bit about Chad from your perspective and what it was like being his little sister.
Man, he was wonderful. He would play basketball with me. He would just go out when he was like, and during the fall, because it's fall season right now, I would get him so mad. He would break up all the leaves in the front yard, and me and Sierra would just go and just jump in the leaves and just like, haha, loser, and just leave. We can clean it up again. Yeah.
Sounds like a good memory.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you grew up with Chad, and he clearly had some medical problems that took him away from your family a lot. Can you tell me a little bit what that was like for you?
Me personally, I was maybe like 11, 10, so I didn't really, I don't want to say care, but I didn't really realize what was going on. I was usually going to my aunts and uncles' houses and just spend the night there while my parents were just in the hospital, and I had no idea what was going on. I know I was in the car with him when he was coughing up blood. I remember I was patting him on the back and just helping him, and so I personally, when I found out he had a brain injury, I was devastated. I was just not it. I was just not myself. I remember I went to school when he was all better and stuff like that, and he came home. I remember I was at school, and I just was sitting at my desk, and I was in 4th grade, I think. 4th, 3rd, could be around there, and I was just sitting at my desk, and I was just thinking, and I started crying, because, man, I was just like, how could this actually be reality? Like, come on now. And then when it all happened again, like my mom said, it was, I remember I was sitting in the waiting room, and I was just coloring away and just doing kid stuff, and I was just, and my dad came in, and I felt there's something wrong, because I felt like me and Chad had a little connection there, and I felt like something was definitely wrong. But me as a kid, I was just coloring, doing all doodles, happy faces, and my dad came in and was like, "Hey, I need you to come in the room." And he sat me down. He said, he's very, very upset. I could tell in his face. I knew there was something wrong. And he said, "Chad is gone." And I was just devastated. I just started busting out crying. I was looking at him, looking at my dad, looking at my mom, looking at Sierra, and it was just like a rotation. I felt like my head was spinning, and it was not a good day.
Yeah, So Chad made the very selfless decision to be an organ donor, and your parents came to support that decision. Can you tell me a little bit about how that has helped you with the loss of your brother?
I definitely know now that it saved other lives. Like it's definitely helpful. And when I definitely went in the donor network, I remember they were so welcoming, and they were just, here, we can take you, we can just hold you. You need a shoulder to cry on, I'm right here. Just go ahead. I remember I was at the donor network. I don't know if you were there or not, but I think I sang a song there, and it was for him. And everyone was just like, yeah, good job, you know. And then every time I come back, they're like, you got a song for us today? They always remember, and they always there. And then I'm a type of person, if you're not welcoming, I don't want to do it, you know. So they were so welcoming, and I was just, yeah, it felt really nice.
That's awesome. You're quite a singer.
I know, I
I
was not there, so.
we got the mic on or something.
Oh, you wasn't there? My bad.
So I started in May of 2019, so I'm still relatively new to the organization too.
Okay.
One day, that's our goal. We gotta hear her sing.
Okay, yes.
Hey, we can do it now. I got all day.
Your guitar though.
Guitar? Hey, guitar, no guitar. I'm good.
Can you tell me a little bit about how Chad inspires you now that he has given such a selfless gift?
How he inspires me, just keep pushing, keep going. Like stuck on a math, it could be like simple as a math problem. Stuck on a math problem, keep going at it. Don't just guess and just move on. Just keep going. You might not get the whole right answer, but you're halfway there. And so, it was really he's definitely my hero. And at the end of the day, he's my hero.
Now Cheyenne, she's around Chad's Cafe a couple of times.
That's cool. That's very cool.
What has that been like? Like running Chad's Cafe, something that was so special to him?
Running Chad's Cafe was so memorable. Because I remember I was at the not WWE, at the wrestling meet with the doctors and everything, and I was just running it, looking at Chad, just like, woo, go dude, let's go! And I'm just looking around, you know. I was also at the thing, first time ever, and I was just screaming, holding up a sign with my little cowgirl hat, and I'm just, woo, go Chad, woo! And it was... Working at Chad's Cafe was definitely memorable. When I was working at the dance, I was working at football games, I was working at basketball. It was everything. I would kill to do it again.
When you weren't playing sports.
Yeah, and for high school and everything.
You're a big athlete.
Yeah.
Awesome. What kind of sports do you play?
Basketball. I used to play football.
What position?
On the line. I was somewhere on the line. I was a guard, tackle, right, left, right in.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I also play volleyball. Did I say basketball already? Okay. I'm getting into softball. So.
What's your favorite?
What's my favorite?
Yeah.
Football and basketball all the way. If I had to choose between those two, probably football. But you know.
What's your favorite sport to watch?
Ooh, basketball and volleyball.
NBA season started this week.
Yeah.
And they also, Chad used to do runway.
Oh, yeah.
Modeling for charity. So now that's what they do.
Oh, that's cool.
That's really cool.
I had a question on the tip of my tongue. Oh, so you shared that lovely memory of you playing in the leaves with your brother. Do you have any other special memories that stick out?
Christmas. All the time Christmas. He would just like yell, just not yell at us, but like say, hey, I want to pass out the presents. And we're all just like, no, I want to. You did that last year. And so he'd pass out the presents, and me and Sierra would just, you know, do our thing. And he'll be like, yeah, this is nice, this is good games, and this is like good PlayStation. So he'll go in there, we'll all be out in the living room, and he'll be just playing his old PlayStation. I'm like, come on, dude, you got other presents. No, I'm good, I'm all right, I'm cool. I'm gonna sit right here playing my PlayStation all day. It was awesome.
That's great.
one time he went out in the ocean. These two, he didn't have a life jacket on. He didn't realize how far he went out in the ocean.
Man.
These two had to go out and bring him back in. And he just laying there.
We're all like, Chad. And he's just like, I'm fine. Like, no, you're gonna get eaten by a shark. Come back.
Can we get a couple pictures of you guys? That'd be okay? With the photo that you brought in, Chad?
Yeah.
Awesome. Great.
Hopefully I did all right.
You did great. You did wonderful.